Hello, this is Eastern Europe Review, a joint production of BELSAT and TVP World with reports and analysis from Ukraine, Belarus and Russia. I'm Alexandra Shepalina and these are the main stories. Ukrainian forces break through south of Dnipro River. Our correspondents exploring the reactions of local residents.
A neighbor's girl got shot in the finger and a man got shot, so we're trying not to go out.
Russian activists share the truth about the war against Ukraine. Authorities responded with brutality.
What is happening here right now is an example of contempt for the law by the Russian authorities.
In Belarus, Lukashenka holds the authority to alter the Red Book of Endangered Species, putting rare animals at greater risk.
They want to earn money. The European bison is a distinctive symbol of Belarus, and unfortunately hunters have a strong desire to kill them.
The armed forces of Ukraine have seized the bridgehead on the left bank of the Dnipro River in the Kherson region and have covered 70% of the distance to Crimea, as announced by the Office of the President of Ukraine. Despite fierce fighting, civilians continue to stay in the village of Antonivka near the front line and are unwilling to leave.
Snipers, that bank is close, and we had a summer house. A good summer house with a view of the Dnipro. We haven't been out for 2 years because they're shooting from that side.
Natalia is from Antonivka village in the Kherson region situated near the Antonivka road bridge. The village is currently under fire from Russian snipers located on the left bank.
A neighbor's girl got shot in the finger and a man got shot, so we're trying not to go out. Even though the greenery here offers some protection, it's dangerous to go into the summer house.
In addition to targeted attacks on live targets, there are also random assaults from mortar and rocket artillery. We can hear the shelling in the background during the interview, coming from the other side of the Dnipro River.
When it's whistling, and you don't know where it's going to land, but it's whistling, and you know it's somewhere close, it's scary. We pray to God. During continuous shellings, we go to the basement and sit there.
During the occupation, the Russians set up a roadblock near Natalia's house and lived close by. She remembers that before Kherson was liberated, the soldiers began preparing for what they called a gesture of goodwill.
One morning, we woke up and there was no one at the checkpoint, even though they were on duty there all the time. My husband came out and 5 or 6 orcs were sitting in the summer house, which was still intact. Don't worry, we won't be long. We'll clean up after ourselves.
The woman also mentions that motorboats stolen from residents were reaching the shore. On the night of November the 10th and 11th, 2022, Russian troops crossed to the left bank.
After that, there was a noise, and the bridge exploded. You can see the bridge from our place. We saw it explode. It went up like that and started to collapse because the Russians had mined it.
Natalia began to suspect that the Ukrainian armed forces had seized a bridgehead on the left bank of the Dnipro even before the official confirmation from the Ukrainian authorities at the office of the President of Ukraine.
At night time, we can hear boats sailing, but I don't know who they belong to. I hope it's ours. Well, we hear the noise less frequently now. About a month ago, there was more noise, probably because they moved somewhere. But we often hear shooting, machine gun fire, rocket-propelled grenades from the other side.
Mykola, a resident of Antonivka, also recalls the counter-offensive of Ukrainian troops.
As our army moved to the other side, they got scared and started shelling everything. They hit too many houses here as well. One shell tore out the front gable roof and destroyed the windows. They all got shattered, and it caused a lot of trouble with just one projectile.
Despite the daily shelling by Russian troops, Mykola has no intention of leaving his native village.
At the start, we heard bang bang. That was the Ukrainian army. And we heard shelling from the other side. You don't know who it is yet as they're shooting from far off, but you understand it could hit you. You may not even realize it already has, and then it's too late, And now you're always on the lookout. It's like being on the front line, because the front line is right here.
There has been no light, water or gas in Antonovka for over a year. There is nowhere to buy food, so we must survive somehow, says Mykola.
I butchered a drake, sold it for 700 rubles and bought 2 sacks of wheat. I'm working, I don't just sit and wait for them to give me humanitarian aid or I'll starve to death, I'm quick on my feet.
Before the full-scale invasion, 11,000 people lived in Antonovka. According to the local administration authority, about 5,000 residents remained in the settlement in October. On October the 24th, families with children were evacuated from Antonovka due to continuous shelling.
Russian justice has once again surprised with its cruelty. The young artist Sasha Skochelenko was sentenced to 7 years in a Pelin colony by a court in St. Petersburg. This harsh prison term was imposed for spreading true information about Russia's war against Ukraine. After the arrest, Sasha spent more than a year and a half in the detention center, during which her health seriously deteriorated. Her family and friends are deeply concerned that being in prison could be fatal for Sasha.
The St. Petersburg court, after dozens of sessions, agreed with the state prosecution that artist Sasha Skochelenko was spreading so-called fake news about the Russian army's actions in Ukraine. She has been sentenced to 7 years in a penal colony. In her final statement, Skochelenko referred to her case as ridiculous. She highlighted that the initial investigator had refused to bring it to a conclusion, choosing to resign in protest.
If the verdict is a message for the Russian people, then think about what you're reporting to the people, to our citizens, by condemning me. That they should surrender? That they should be hypocritical? That they should admit guilt when they are innocent? That you can't feel sorry for our soldiers? That you can't wish for a peaceful sky above our head? That our society and state can be destroyed by 5 little pieces of paper?
The artist decided to replace price tags in St. Petersburg supermarkets with small stickers as a sign of protest after the beginning of Russia's war with Ukraine. In the spring of 2022, she printed information about the crimes of the Russian army and Vladimir Putin's regime on the stickers. Skochelenko was reported by a 76-year-old pensioner who witnessed the substitution in the store. The citizen expressed no regret for her actions to the media. The artist was soon arrested and spent a year and a half in an isolation center. Authorities contended that she acted out of unpleasant feelings toward the Russian army, state, bodies, and the president.
What is happening here right now is an example of contempt for the law by the Russian authorities. It's an example of how the authorities fight with dissent. The most important thing is to express our support for Sasha and her defense team. This is an unjust case. To judge a woman for her beliefs as a citizen is an outrage against the people and a human being. There is no crime at all. It's evident in the way the prosecutor is presenting the case and the way the judge is listening to the trial with his eyes downcast. I wouldn't want to be in their shoes.
Famous directors, politicians, producers, and Sasha's friends gathered to support the activist on the day of the verdict announcement. There were more than 100 people in total. The only evidence of Skochelenko's guilt was an expert examination carried out by specialists from the St. Petersburg State University at the request of the investigation. The document was criticized by other experts from the same university. Nevertheless, the court rejected all conclusions presented by the defense lawyers' experts.
On the defense side, 6 experts participated in various conclusions. There are political scientists, philologists, linguists, and psychologists who drew their conclusions regarding the text of the price tags, Alexandra's behavior, and her lack of political hatred motives. This is substantial evidence that refutes the ridiculous expertise of the prosecution in this case.
During her time in the pre-trial detention center, Sasha's heart disease has worsened. In addition, she isn't allowed to eat foods containing gluten. During the search in her cell, the detainee's medications were confiscated and she wasn't released from the court session to replace the batteries in her pacemaker.
This is a very serious problem, especially considering that now there's a tendency to send political prisoners as far away from Moscow and St. Petersburg as possible, because there will be less noise there and less publicity. I'm really afraid that we won't be able to invite doctors there.
The police began detaining those who came to support Sasha Skochilenko after the end of the court hearing, when the activist had already been taken to the detention center.
One of the most valuable animals in the Belarusian forest, the zubr, may lose state protection, and as a consequence, it may disappear. According to ecologists, the animal population is not safe today. However, officials, particularly the former Minister of the Internal Affairs, claims that zubrs seems to be dangerous to people. What the minister has to do with the Belarusian forest is a different question.
Belarusian official Ihar Shunevich wants to edit the so-called Red Book, which includes endangered animals and plants in Belarus. The former controversial Minister of Internal Affairs and now the chairman of the Belarusian Association of Hunters and Fishermen has approached self-proclaimed President Alexander Lukashenka with specific proposals regarding hunting.
This is a traditional Belarusian activity, and this is an industry in which the state invests huge material resources and, I believe, should receive a corresponding return, including material, but not only, also in the number of association members and people's interest in a healthy way of life.
Shunevich, for example, suggests shooting bears without an official hunting permit, attributing this to the rapid growth in the number of bears in Belarus.
Why have bears started coming to the cities? This is not due to the fact that there are more of them, but due to the fact that because of deforestation, they move to cities in search of food. They like to look for it in garbage dumps, because people throw away a lot of organic stuff.
Moreover, Ihar Shunevich proposes to exclude the European bison, also known as zubr, from the Red Book. He had made a similar proposal before, although not directly to the president. Last year, in his article, the official suggested removing the European bison, bear, and lynx from the Red Book, as well as allowing open stork hunting. Shunevich believes that the list of endangered animals is an outdated barrier, hindering swift decisions on wildlife issues.
They want to earn money. The European bison is a distinctive symbol of Belarus, and unfortunately hunters have a strong desire to kill them. In fact, we Belarusians should think about it and do everything possible to prevent it from happening, because otherwise we can reach a point where the European bison simply won't exist.
Last year, the Belarusian Ministry of Nature reported that the European bison population has not fully recovered, emphasizing that shooting these animals is allowed only in exceptional causes. As per the Council of Ministers resolution, the cost of hunting the most iconic inhabitant of Belarusskaya Pushcha is set between $150 to $2,150 for Belarusians and citizens of Eurasian Economic Union countries. For hunters from other countries, the fees range from $450 to $6,700. The final price is determined by the weight and age of the animal. But in practice, the prices are higher. In Belarusskaya Pushcha National Park, a citizen of a European Union country will pay about $10,000 for the most expensive European bison. Shunevich supports his proposal to exclude the bison from the Red Book, arguing that the bison population in Belarus poses threats to agriculture, forestry, and occasionally to humans.
Igor Shunevich may be acting in this way because he lacks the feeling of power he had before. It could also be anxiety in this case, so he's trying to climb back to the top where he used to be.
The Minister of Internal Affairs, Ihar Shunevich, has gained attention for his distinctive preferences. He has frequently appeared in public wearing NKVD uniform. Additionally, he advocates for hunters to join the so-called People's Militia, demonstrating his support for Lukashenka's recent law requiring volunteers from the general public to participate in maintaining martial law.
That's all for today. Thank you for watching Eastern Europe Review. We will be back next week with new stories. I'm Alexandra Shapalina. Keep watching TVP World and see you next time.